Hello, vinyl community. George here, George Allen, LPs and CDs, and I'm here to do a contest entry for Michael at Poetry on Plastic. Yeah, he's celebrating having 10,000 subscribers, and his rules for his contest are to make a response answering these questions, and it has to be uploaded by October 7th. And he wants you to comment on this video, and he wants to, these are the questions are here. He's got 6 questions. Oh, 6 questions. I like this one in particular because the first question, as soon as I heard this one, I thought I got to do this one. First question showed classical record. And there aren't too many questions or contests in the vinyl community that I've come across in a while that want you to talk about classical music, so I thought this is one I got to get into. So anyhow, and I have only recently started watching Michael's channel, and I like it a lot. He's a pretty cool dude. He has a lot of great equipment. He plays oboe in a philharmonic orchestra, and he seems to know a lot about music, and he's an audio buff too, which is very interesting. So anyhow, back to the questions. Enough messing around here, how about that? So, question 1, show a classical record. You don't have a classical record, show something with an orchestral arrangement. So, that's no problem for me. I'm going to keep this from blowing away. I want to show one of my all-time favorites, Gustav Mahler's Symphony No. 1. Now, when I first started getting into some classical music, I'm not the genius that other folks are. In fact, when I first started listening to it, for some reason I was attracted to Haydn's symphonies, but when I heard this, I was really amazed. I was taken back by this, and I loved it a lot. I thought this was really terrific. And of course, this is not my original. I had one on Nonsuch. I got it back in the late 60s, and that was back when Nonsuch, they were kind of like a lower level below Deutsche Grammophon, but it was all I could afford at the time. I didn't have a lot of money, but I enjoyed it. I had heard it, parts of it on the radio where I lived in Pennsylvania. London, Ontario was right across the lake, and they had every day for an hour they played classical music. And I heard it, I thought, man, I really like that a lot. So I bought that one. And this one, though, is really a lot better recording. I like this version a lot. And there's just something about Mahler's symphonies that just draw me to it. In particular, this one, I think it's because it was one of the first ones I heard, and I bought it and listened to it a lot when I was in college. And so I'm the most familiar with it. And I just This one, it's like any piece of music that you hear often, it becomes interwoven in your mind as something that you're so familiar with, like any piece of music. It's like whether it be jazz or folk or rock, any particular piece of music that you become real familiar with. So this is my like one of my go-to. I have several go-to classics, but this is one that I love the most. Mahler's Symphony Number 1. So that's my classic. Now he wants us. Question 2 is, show the heaviest sounding album you own. Well, I want to show you something to me that's pretty heavy. It's not the heaviest I own, but it's the heaviest I prefer listening to. And that's Deep Purple's Machine Head. You know, one night, several years ago, my wife and I were up late. We watched a special on MTV on how it was a special on how Deep Purple recorded this album, and it was really something else. My wife, who is a country music lover, she normally can't stand this stuff. There was nothing else on TV. We watched it, and she was totally amazed at the talent these guys have. And by the end of it, she says, I gotta listen to this album. She says, I've never seen such a talented bunch of guys play rock music. And I said, well, yeah, they're talented guys. And you know, this album, the songs on it, Highway Star, Maybe I'm a Leo, Smoke on the Water, Space Truckin'. Space Truckin', I'll tell you, Roger Glover, he does some amazing bass work on that. But just a Smoke on the Water, I know sometimes there's been people made remarks about Ritchie Blackmore's guitar work on it, which that riff on there has been so, you hear that song, everybody likes to copy that riff, and few people have made comments to him about, well, you know, that riff is not, it's nothing, you know, fantastic or anything to write home about. And he says, yeah, he says, but I came up with it. And it's just, I don't like anything much heavier than this, just the way I am. You know, I listen to so much jazz and stuff now that it's hard for me to listen to anything heavier than this. I'll put this in backwards. Anyhow, I'll put it away later. Deep Purple Machine Head. That's what I like to listen. If I want heavy, that's what I listen to. Show an artist, a group that you primarily got into because of vinyl record collecting. Okay. Let me read that again. Show an artist or group you got into primarily because of vinyl record collecting. Okay, so because of the vinyl community, I got into Bill Evans. And one of my favorite Bill Evans is Bill Evans Trio, Sunday at the Village Vanguard. And this, of course, is to me, one of his best trios, which was Scott LaFaro and Paul Motian. Scott LaFaro, unfortunately, dying at a young age in a car accident. And but this is a wonderful, wonderful album. They did several albums together. I don't know, maybe 3, 4. And on this, Scott LaFaro wrote, I think, more than half the songs on this one. But if it wasn't for the vinyl community, I was listening to a bunch of jazz, but not yet gotten into Bill Evans till I joined the vinyl community. And who it was that actually was listening to talked about it, I don't know. That's the back. This is the record. But I really, really like Bill Evans, and I owe it, I would say, to the vinyl community. And I got some VCLTs. One of the members of the vinyl community sent me, everybody digs Bill Evans. So that's the story on that. Number 4, show a foreign or non-English record, bonus points for import pressing. Okay, well, I'm going to get bonus points for this because here I got Torre Kunda, and this is by Amado Tilo. And this is, let me tell you about this. This guy is from Singali. It's been recorded in France, in Paris, France, on Celluloid label. This is, this I got actually from a distributor. I got it on Discogs, and this guy was in Canada. And this is the label here. Here. And I was reading the book Where the Blues Began, and in that he was, I forget the name of the guy that wrote it now, Alan something, I got the book sitting over there. He was talking about how that listening to the Mule Skinners and stuff in the Mississippi Delta, I'm not putting it away yet, I'm sorry. The Mule Skinners, some of their chants reminded him of when he was in Senegal, the country of Senegal, reminded him of that. So I thought, so I better get something from Senegal, Senegalese. So I got this, and this is kind of like some of it's very Senegalese folk, some of it's kind of funky jazz. It's a very interesting album, And like most material that's in Africa, a lot of it's recorded in France. This is recorded in France, pressed in France, and it's very interesting sounded, recorded well, a lot of percussion, drums, congas, timbales. I'll take it out of the sleeves, maybe it'll look better. And of course the picture on the front is a lot of elephants in the back. So that's what I have for, but that just kind of intrigued me that, what's that guy's name, Alan? Oh boy, I forget his name. Very good book, Where the Blues Began. Okay, so that takes us to question 5. Show a CD, tape, digital download of an album that needs to be pressed on vinyl. I had one in mind that I was going to show till I got this last week, just last week. I bought it on Discogs when I was buying some other stuff. I saw this listed, and this is called Floratone. Floratone. And this is an amazing, amazing album. And the two main players are Matt Chamberlain and Bill Frisell. And I'll have to tell you, if you've not heard this, you gotta get it. It is not available on vinyl, and man, this should be on vinyl. The music is out of this world. You know, Matt Chamberlain is a super session guy. He's played with, who hasn't Matt Chamberlain played with? What a drummer, man, super drummer. Bill Frisell, what a guitarist. And they're joined on this with Tucker Martine and Lee Townsend do the production. They actually pulled all this stuff together. Then Victor Krause plays acoustic and electric bass, and then Ron Miller plays cornet, and then Yvonne Kong plays viola on a few tracks too. But my goodness, they started this years back, then they finally got it released, I think in 2007. Then there's actually a Floratone 2 out that I'm going to have to get. This is actually on Blue Note. I didn't realize it till I was reading the fine print. Although it's not on the typical Blue Note type label, you get Blue Note CDs and they're the blue and white. This is not, but this is on Blue Note. The music, it's like jazz rock, but it's like electronic jazz rock, and it is astounding. I wish I did sound cuts for you to hear some of this. This would be magnificent on vinyl. Magnificent on vinyl. So that's my suggestion for something to be on a CD, to be on vinyl. Floratone. Matt Chamberlain. I highly respect him as a drummer. Excellent, excellent. Last, number 6, letter to the editor. Pick one of my musical or gear takes to editorialize. Take an artist I like, a record I show, piece of gear I love or hated, and give me your take. Have a record that you loved or turned you on to. Talk about it. Did you try an artist I recommend or couldn't stand? Talk about the same thing with gear. Everyone gets an opinion. Be cordial. Oh. Well, I watched a couple. Went back and watched a few of the videos. The one that got me the most was getting his new turntable, the Pure Fidelity Horizon turntable with the German tone arm. And I thought, boy, it reminded me of my own search for a turntable. And I really liked it a lot, because I thought he did a great job of showing and explaining his search for a turntable, which ones he started with, how he progressed through each one. He did a magnificent job. And the ones he had, how he bought and sold different ones, and even ones in between he kept for, if he found a good deal on one, maybe he kept it for a month or two and got rid of it. Not as his own, but even when he had his project debut turntable, he had others in, along with it, just maybe to monkey with or something, then got rid of them because he picked them up as a good deal. And that's what the hi-fi guys do a lot of times, and I've done that over the years too. And it made me think of my own, because my you know, when I was young, I think when I first started college, I had, you know, there Radio Shack and places like that used to sell little setups. Get a little amplifier, 2 little speakers, and a Garrard turntable. And so that was probably the first turntable I had. Well, then when I was selling hi-fi in Pittsburgh, I was fortunate enough to get an Empire turntable. It was an Empire 398, and these suckers were big. I mean, these were big turntables, and I got it for like 60 bucks. I think now you couldn't touch one for, I think I saw them on eBay for $700-800, and I got it for like 60 bucks. And I held on to that for a while, and foolish me, Philips came out with a belt drive that would, the tone arm would return at the end, and I thought, oh, that's the coolest thing. And stupid me, I sold my Empire for I think like $100. I thought, oh, I'll make $40 on it. I should have just kept it, but I didn't. So I bought this Philips turntable, which really turned out to be a piece of junk. But you know, then I think I bought, after that, I bought a Sony belt drive, and other than that, I've gone through a few others. So now I have a Project Debut. But anyhow, I just loved the way he did that thing on the turntable and everything, and talked about cartridges and stuff. So the only thing is, with all that equipment and everything, it just I have a subscription to Absolute Sound. I have a subscription to Stereophile. Besides, everybody knows I have a subscription to Downbeat magazine, because I talk about that all the time. But some of that equipment, you know, it's a lot more expensive than what I can afford at the moment. So I have my own decent setup. I'm happy with it. I only have maybe $4,000 or $5,000 invested, but it's good enough for me right now. Who knows what the future may bring. But anyhow, I liked his thing on buying his turntable, and I thought he did a great job. So that's it. That's all the questions. We're done for now. I hope this video didn't go on too long, but just wanted to get all the questions answered. Go to his channel. He's got over 10,000 subscribers. Probably someday he'll be doing a thing for 100,000 subscribers, so I don't know. Alrighty, folks, just the beginning of the week. Lots more to come. See you later. Bye-bye.